What's up guys, Jeff Cavaliere, AthleanX.com. Do you remember the Perfect Workouts? They became the most popular workout series ever here on YouTube, and I have you to thank for that. And to show my thanks, guess what? I'm bringing them back. By popular demand, the Perfect Back Workout continues our series here today for 2025 and beyond. Now when it comes to a perfect workout, or in this case a perfect science-based workout, I think it's important to understand that there is no perfect science. So any workout that is actually recommended to you based on the latest in science alone is not really going to cut it. See, here, as we've always done, we rely on the sciences of anatomy and physiology and kinesiology, and we put it all together in a workout that actually makes sense. And we're going to do the same thing for you here. And we're going to sprinkle in what we know now to be the most effective techniques to employ when we're trying to build a bigger back. But not just for today, but for the long haul, right? Longevity and joint health is also going to be a big concern of mine as a physical therapist. And it's not just because I'm an anatomy nerd, but because we need to know what the muscles do if we want to get the most out of them. And when it comes to the back, there's a lot of muscles. As a matter of fact, there's some muscles that aren't even typically part of the back when we talk about back workouts, namely the rear delts. But you'll see in this workout that some of the best rear delt exercises and upper back exercises come from some of the heavier performed back exercises. Not to mention, of course, we have the old standbys like the lats, and I'm going to show you exercises to help to target them by altering the position of your elbows in space. Also, the teres major, which is a lat helper, but has a very unique way that we can attack it if we use the right exercises. And of course, we have some of the smaller muscles of the back, no less important though, and all of them are going to matter. We're going to have to show you how to hit them if we want one workout to be truly perfect. Now, while I say the perfect workout, what I'm actually talking about is not just one workout, but actually two. And the reason for that is, though we kind of conflict a lot about the latest in science when it comes to training, one thing I think we could pretty much agree on at this point is that twice a week frequency for a muscle group is probably better when it comes to building that muscle up than just doing it once a week. But the issue is, how do we do it? Well, the first thing is you're going to have to ask yourself how intensely you want to train or you're willing to train. Because if you're going to go balls out, then you probably want to make sure that you're only training that muscle group once a week. And I mean high intensity, like Mike Mentzer style intensity. And if you're looking for a workout like that, we do have our 100 back workout that uses effective reps you're going to want to check out. That being said, what if you just want to do kind of a standard workout that a lot of people have access to? Well, that's where you're going to want to do these two workouts, because here we're going to equate that volume that we would normally do in one workout and split it up over two. The other good thing is, while doing this, we give ourselves some extra time. In other words, these workouts can be shorter, and because of that, we can put another muscle group on the same day. And as you'll see here, as we build out this entire Perfect Workout series, you're going to do exactly that. With the back workout you're about to do here, paired up with the bicep workout. But we'll cover this as we break down the series. Right now, we have to talk about those specific back workouts 1 and 2. And so with back workout 1, you're going to start this workout the way we start all the Perfect Workouts, and that is with a primer. Because in order to get the most out of whatever muscle you're going to train, you need to get it warmed up and ready to go. And for me, one of the best ways to do this is with something called a scap pull-down primer. Because if you want to perform better in your back workouts, guess what you need to warm up? Your shoulders. Because there's no movement you're going to do in the gym for your back that doesn't involve or require a lot of shoulder mobility and looseness. So what this does is it warms up the entire shoulder girdle. Because we get to a lat pull-down machine like this, we weight it rather lightly because you'll see we're doing just 1 to 2 sets with 10 to 15 repetitions performed at a very submaximal level. But the first part is a scap pull, where your elbows will stay locked out and you're simply trying to pull the bar down 1 or 2 inches. And what that does is it activates the scapula. And we know that the scapula is attached to the shoulder joint via the acromion, and that's a key point because you want to get normal shoulder biomechanics where you better warm up both the scapula and the shoulder joint itself. The second half of this is actually where we warm up the shoulder joint. Pulling down through one good full range of motion repetition is going to help us to get our shoulders into really good high flexion and all the way back behind our body in some good shoulder extension. Now, if we do these and we get ourselves warmed up, then we're ready to actually start to perform what we need to do, and that is the first of our heavy exercises, and it's the seated cable row. But this one we're going to perform with our elbows wide. How come? Because there's two different focuses we can have when we train our back. If we go nice and wide with the elbows, we can work more of the upper back muscles. If we go narrow with the elbows, we can work more of the lats. Here, I actually want you to focus on getting the upper back, but also the rear delts, because this exercise, the seated cable row, does a great job of hammering the rear delts. And it does it with a load that you're typically not used to using on some of those really light rear delt exercises. And it does a great job of growing them. You do 2 to 3 sets here of 6 to 8 repetitions, until form failure. So when this starts to break down and not look the way it's supposed to, then your set's over. Just make sure you're using enough weight here, because tension is a driver of hypertrophy. And feeling that heavy weight, doing the reps slowly, is a key way to perform these and get the growth without ruining your joints in the process. The next exercise up here is the traditional lat pull down. But here I want you to use a narrow grip, because again, when we narrow up that grip, we can get our lats more involved. How do you do this? One of the recommendations I use is just swap the bar out that you typically use. Instead of using a wide grip lat pull down bar, just put the tricep push down bar on. Then you have no choice but to narrow up the grip, get your elbows out in front of your body, and get the lats on greater stretch as you perform every single rep. Now here I want you to do 2 to 3 sets with a weight that would cause failure in the 10 to 12 rep range. And when I say that, I mean actually cause failure in the 10 to 12 rep range. Not many reps in reserve here, because a lot of times we don't train hard enough as it is. If we train to failure, we objectively know that we've reached failure. But we have another way to do that. We perform some partial repetitions to ensure that we've gotten all the way through failure. And what's nice about this exercise, and with a lot of the pulling exercises, is those partial repetitions occur at the very top with that stretch position of the lats. So you knock out about 2 or 3 or 4 extra partials until you can't even perform them anymore, and we know that the job is done. Again, 2 to 3 sets of this exercise, and we move on. The next job here for you to do is something called the straight arm push down. And I would say that this is one of the most underappreciated, overlooked, effective back exercises, because it trains something different. Straight arm scapular strength. And the main job here is driving your elbows down without turning this into a tricep push down yet, to get into that deep lat connection and get a better contraction of the lats. Now, I said yet because we can actually get some additional eccentric repetitions when we've reached concentric failure. We know, as science has proven, that eccentric contractions are more capable than concentric contractions. So even when we reach failure, eccentrically we have more left in the tank. So how do you do this? You do your 8 to 10 repetitions here till failure, and then you cheat the bar back. In other words, you just row it back close to your body, use the triceps now to push down, and then eccentrically allow yourself to control another repetition with the lats only. And you do it again. You continue to cheat these eccentric only repetitions. That allows us to take this set to and through failure, where the real gains can be had. Again, 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10. The next one we have here is now a 1.5 rep dumbbell pullover ladder. Sounds like a lot, but it's actually quite simple. The dumbbell pullover is one of the best stretch exercises you can do for the lats. It simply puts yourself in that stretch position on every single repetition, and you can use some pretty good weight here. What you want to do, though, is sort of accentuate that stretch position if you can. How do you do it? You go in a 1.5 rep fashion. In other words, take it down, come back up just a half away, go back down into that stretch position, and then you hold it for 1 second and come out of that repetition. Now the next time you go down, you still perform the 1.5 reps, but this time the hold is performed for 2 seconds. So we're going to continue to escalate up or ladder up that hold time to spend more of that time in that stretch position where we have a lot of tension. Remember, it's nothing magical about these partials or elongations or lengthened part. That's all not it, guys. What's it is that you have tension coming in the form of the weight and tension coming in the form of the stretch. And when you combine those together, that higher tension that you incur is going to help you to have more of a stimulus for growth. You're going to do 1 set of that till failure until you can't do any more. And then finally, we have one last exercise here, the bodyweight or banded pull-up, done as a failure or burnout set, again, with additional partials. So what that looks like is maybe you struggle to do pull-ups right now, and maybe you're just starting out and you need to use a band to perform your repetitions. That's fine. You do as many banded repetitions as you can, and then when you're done, you do some partial repetitions in that band to finish out that one last burnout set. If you're capable of doing any bodyweight pull-ups first, do those to failure, then step into your band, take that all the way to failure, and then take your partial repetitions at the end. I always like to take one bodyweight exercise to sort of wrap it all up and finish up any perfect workout, because ultimately, if you want to move your body in space and command your body in space to be athletic, you should end with some bodyweight exercise that allows you to do so. Now, when we look at the overall volume here, again, you can throw the primer out because it's not our direct back work. You've got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 on the low end in terms of sets, or 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 on the high end of the sets. We know that in order to have the most effective training volume in a week, you're looking at somewhere between 12 and 24 sets for a particular muscle group. You know when we hit back workout 2, we're going to land right in that perfect zone. Speaking of, what's back workout 2? And back workout 2 will start the same way back workout 1 did with the primer, but how could I not put in face pulls as the exercise? So of course you're going to do face pulls. You're going to do them in a sub-maximal way yet again, because we're not looking for all-out fatigue, but rather to warm up the muscles, in this case more of the upper back. So 2 very deliberate, well-performed sets of face pulls, thinking about me on every single repetition. We go to the next exercise, more of the bigger exercise, right? This is where we want to take advantage of those compound movements, and there's none better than the barbell row. Now, I, again, as a physical therapist, do understand that sometimes the barbell row can be a little bit of a challenge for those of us that have some low back issues. But it doesn't mean that you can't row. Instead of doing the row, you do have the option of doing a chest-supported row by simply performing the row while face down on an inclined bench. The idea here is maybe you can use just a little less weight because you don't have the ground up momentum, but that doesn't mean that you can't row. Again, you want to try to weight these as heavy as possible and go to form failure, 2 to 3 sets of 6 to 8 repetitions. Again, making sure you're using those heavy weights at some point to stimulate muscle growth and make your body feel that tension. The next exercise up here is the wide grip pull down. So the reason why we now switch up the grip to a wider grip is because we can actually favor different muscles. You see, there is a muscle in the back called the teres major that's known as the lat helper. In other words, it sort of situates itself in the same alignment as the lats, but because of its positioning and angle, it has the ability to be worked more effectively when we put our arms a little bit wider. And so if we want to shift out and get the entirety of the back, then we want to take advantage of one spot at least to do this. And with a regular lat pull down bar, we can make sure our hands are placed on the downside of the slope of that bar. We perform 2 to 3 sets in that 10 to 12 rep range, but once again with all the lat pull down variations, it gives a great opportunity to finish up with some of those partials because we know that we can get, after failure, a few repetitions, just not really all the way down to our chest. That's okay. Remember, taking a set to and through failure is a great way to induce more hypertrophy, and you're going to do it here as part of the perfect back workout in our second shot. Then, of course, we have one of my favorite exercises here. It's the dumbbell high pull. This is not an upright row. I repeat, this is not an upright row. It may look like it to some of you, but it's actually very different biomechanically because the elbows will stay down and the wrists will stay high, not in the reverse. And what this does is it keeps our shoulders out of internal rotation. It helps with a little bit of external rotation to keep those shoulders healthy, but it also will involve the traps, the upper back, and yes, even the rear delts once again. It's one of the best ways to train the entire upper shoulder girdle, and what I want you to do here is focus once again on 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions in good form. In other words, once that form starts to break down to where you cannot recognize this, or God forbid it starts to look like an upright row, then you know it's time to stop. Next up, we're going to do that ladder again. This time we have the 1.5 rep high cable row ladder. And if there's ever an exercise out there that does an amazing job at putting the lats on stretch and really feeling one side of the lats and getting a good contraction from start to finish, it's this one right here. And what I like about this is we can again prolong that eccentric and actually accentuate the stretch at the very end by performing an extra half rep for every rep that we perform. We have one set of this on each arm all the way to failure. Remember, performing the same ladder with a hold time of 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, etc. on each rep that you can perform. So you can see I go all the way out, come back halfway, go back out for another stretch, and then come all the way back. And yes, we are still coming all the way back. The concentric part of an exercise matters. The contraction on a muscle matters. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And we want to make sure we're doing it. That's why each one of these repetitions is done in a full range of motion along with the extra half rep in that stretch position. Finally, we go down to that last bodyweight exercise again, and this time we're doing the inverted row. And this is one of those sleeper exercises that I think people don't perform often enough either. It's a good bodyweight exercise that allows us to perform more of that rowing action rather than having to do the pull-up. And for those that find pull-ups challenging, you're going to find that the inverted row is possible for you every single time. But what we can do here to ensure that everybody's doing the same level of work here and the same level of effort, we take that set to failure to whatever number it is for you, and then we perform some partial repetitions at the very end of this to make sure that we've taken our sets all the way to failure and finished out this workout the way I want to with a high intensity level. The rest time is 1 to 3 minutes between exercises, except for on your primers, and this goes for both this workout and back workout number 1. And as far as the total set volume, once again, 2, 4, 6, 8 on the low end, or up to 11 on the high end. If you prefer to take these and follow them at the gym, I'm going to hook you up here also. Here's the screenshots of both back workout number 1 and back workout number 2, so you can print them out, take them with you, and make sure that there's no guesswork. You can follow them step by step and make sure that these now become your most favorite workouts of 2025 and beyond. Guys, thank you again for making the original Perfect Workout series the success it was. I think this is going to be even more favored by you by the time you're done with them. If you're looking for the rest of the workouts, guys, you got to subscribe. Make sure you turn on notifications, and also make sure you check out the Perfect Chest Workout over here, and we'll come back and link some more for you as they're ready. If you're looking for full programs, guys, you can find them at athletenext.com, as well as full supplements and meal plans. All right, guys, let's go knock this one out. Good luck.